Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. This week I'd like to share with you my land buying process, the entire thing from point A to point B, step by step. Most of you guys know I recently found land, and I just want to share that process with you because it is a long process, starting from research to closing. This video is packed, so let's get into it right away. All right, so number one, we're going to talk about the places that you should look to find your property. You can go to places like Zillow.com, Land and Farm, Land is Home. There are other land places that you can look where you can put in the search box exactly the place that you're looking for and the amenities that you want, the acreage that you want, your price minimum and maximum, and then you press search and all of the properties that you're looking for come up. One of the best things about these sites is that you can put a template in, basically what you want, and have them email you daily or weekly all of the options that come up on their site. And this is really beneficial because if you don't have time to look on the computer for land, they basically take your criteria and send them to you for free. So you don't have to do much of the work and look, they will send you exactly what you've been looking for. One of the very first things that I did was I went to my group sponsor on Tiny House Central. His name is Watt Jones. He has a website called Homesteading How To. And in this website, he's got a ton of information on how to find land, how to build up your land, the correct things to do, how he did it himself, how to convert a shed. There is so much knowledge on this website that it's just a gold mine of information. So I'm going to drop his link in the comments below. I will drop it right here as well. homesteadinghowto.com, and there is a PDF file in there that shows you all of the legal-ish places where you can park a tiny house. And I believe that this is in every state, every county, and almost every city. So me personally, I was looking in Tennessee, so I went to that website and I pulled up the PDF for Tennessee, and it told me all of the counties that had basically opted out of the ready removables law. If you go to his website, you can learn more about that. But basically, wherever it said opt out is what I wrote down. And then I would take those and go look on Zillow and Land and Farm and find where I could possibly legally park my tiny house. Now, at the time, I was working with a realtor, and I would give the information to her. All of the counties in Tennessee that were unrestricted, I sent those lists over to her, and she also helped try to find me places where I could park. Now, just because this list and these counties and these cities say unrestricted and that they have opted out, you still want to call the county and the zoning office in order to find out if there are any restrictions on that land specifically. If you get a realtor to work with, have this person help you because they have the knowledge and the lingo to call these offices and ask them, this is this person's dream. Can she do this? Can he do this? Do they have to have this? Are there any restrictions? Most of the time, the building ordinances and the zoning offices will send the realtor a PDF of restrictions and rules for that specific land. If you think about it, each property that you're looking for is going to have different rules and restrictions. So just because a property or plot of land says unrestricted, you still have to call because there could be these hidden, loopholes that you have to jump through. These loopholes could include adding handrails. They need your floors to be a specific height. You might need the door to be opening or closing in a specific way. You might need a fire alarm or smoke alarm in every room. You might need to add sewer somewhere. You might have to add septic per 2 houses or per 2 people. You might have to do specific things on the land. You might have to be a specific distance from the road. There are a lot of rules that you might have to follow. These are not hard rules to jump through if you're willing to do it, but if you're not, then you might want to look somewhere else. When you find the properties on these sites that you are looking for, make sure to make a list and write down the pros and cons of each of the properties that you decided to heart or star. This includes comparing prices, acreage, perks of the land, utilities that might be on the land, buildings that might be on the land, whether or not it fits your dream. So do these pros and cons on a piece of paper. Check to see how long it's been on the market. Check to see if it's in a flood zone. Check to see if there is hills there, if it's near a tourist area. If you're planning on doing an Airbnb, say in a trailer park or a campground type setting, then you might need to know if there are tourist areas around so that your guests can visit, or so that they have a place to fly in from if they're flying from out of state. All right, now we're going to talk about realtors. It depends on which one you work with, but I do want to warn you that some of them are a little sketchy and some of them are very professional. I've worked with about 6 different realtors, and until you find the perfect one, you might have to juggle through a couple of these. Now, one of the problems that I was running into was that when I was looking on Land and Farm, if I was looking in Middle Tennessee and I had a realtor that I was working with that's in East Tennessee, they might not be in that area to cover that area. So that's called an MLS. I don't know what it stands for, but when I look it up, I'll put it right there on the screen. And they have to stay, each realtor has to stay in their MLS. When they work within the circle, if you happen to find land somewhere that's out of their MLS, maybe they can send you to somebody else. So the realtor that I am working with and that helped me, she was able to stay here in Middle Tennessee while I drove to West Tennessee to deal with the seller's realtor. But because I had a realtor representing me from far away, everything was good. But until you find that realtor who's willing to, call the zoning offices and work with other realtors and work with you to try to find your land, you might have to juggle a few realtors until you do find that one. Make sure these realtors are interested in your dream. So make sure that they have enough desire to want to help you accomplish it. I have worked with, again, about 3 or 4 different realtors who were just like, they heard my dream and they were kind of like, say I wanted to buy land for $25,000. They might not have thought that that was enough money for them. They didn't want to help me. I was ghosted. I didn't get emailed. I didn't get text back. They didn't send me properties like they said they would. So you really need to find somebody that you work well with. When working with these realtors, you want to tell them your entire dream. Make them write it down, have them write down everything that you want so that they can also go on their realtor website and navigate to try to find land that they might be selling. It's very helpful for you to explain exactly what you want in your dream. In my dream, I had told my realtor that I wanted the tiny house community, the Airbnbs, the land, the flatness. I only wanted to spend a certain amount. I wanted a certain amount of acreage. I wanted utilities. So she tried to find different lands that fit those criteria. Each of the offices that she was calling, she was telling my dream to, and they were sending her the PDFs that had all of the restrictions on it, which then didn't fit some of my dream. She's the person who told me, maybe you want to rethink your dream, and that's when I rethought my dream. And then I told her my new dream, and we were able to work around that as well. Next, when you have a list of about maybe 10 different properties and you've weighed your pros and cons, go and start looking at these plots of land. When you look at these plots of land, you're going to get a better idea of if your dream fits within it, if it's what you thought was what you were going to get yourself into when looking online. I noticed that some of the lands that I looked at didn't quite look like the pictures that they were presenting to me, so I kind of felt like the listing was misrepresented. I ended up looking at 4 different plots of land, and each one of them had something, say, wrong with them. And again, I did my pros and cons at each place when I did them. And the first 3 I ended up not doing because of one reason or another. And the 4th one I did end up choosing. Try not to go with your first one because it might not be the one that you really, really want. Unless you do really, really want it and it fits your dream, then absolutely go for it. All right, we have chosen our land. So what is the process after choosing choosing your land. So what happens is you have a 21-day or a 30-day closing. I believe we chose 21-day, and I purchased my land on March 9th, and our closing date was March 30th. There's a grueling process that you have to go to right after you buy the land. You're communicating with your realtor and you state your interest to them, and then that person will relay the interest to the seller's realtor, and then there starts a contract and sort of a negotiation. They have to do a title search. You have to show them proof of funds. So if your funds are in your bank account or an investing account, you have to show them proof that you're going to be able to pay for this if you're paying for it in cash. If you're financing, that's a different story. I did not finance, I did pay in cash. So those who are financing are going to have to go through probably a whole different process of getting the house financed, getting yourself financed, and making sure that the house can be paid for if you are approved for financing. I could not be approved for financing because I do not have a 9-to-5 work for the man job. I have a self-employed job, and the money that comes in isn't consistent. So one of the realtors that I worked with in the beginning, she tried to see if I could have got financed for that $150,000 property, and her lender said no, she's not going to be able to get financed. So she's going to have to do a cash sale. So that had me rethinking my budget. It was no longer up there because I couldn't get finance, so I had to bring it down some. Your realtor is going to be sending you a bunch of different emails with PDFs in them for you to sign to send back to them, and this would include the title search, a wire fraud statement to say nothing's going to be fraudulent in this transaction. There is also earnest money that you put down if you are 100% sure that you want that house. That kind of puts the property on hold so that nobody else can look at it. So that last property in Tennessee, there was somebody coming from Georgia and somebody coming from Florida right after me, and I put in my interest right after I left and was able to put down, say, $750 as the earnest payment to hold my place on that land. Now, when the inspector comes in, this is another grueling process because there is a protocol that you have to go through. This inspector comes in, the seller has to have the utilities turned on. So if there is a house on the land, water, electric, everything has to be working in order for the inspector to inspect it. When the inspector is done, you as the buyer have to make sure you pay him right away, regardless of what the inspection says, and that inspector sends an email to me that is up to us to negotiate if we find anything wrong on what's being sold. Now, in my situation, considering this house was a 2002, it's been up for 20 years, and the seller's realtor said that the seller had not had anything repaired in the entire time that they had the house. But there was a few things that came back that needed to be repaired, and this included a missing shingle on the roof, a handrail that was missing on a deck, a set of stairs on the back of the house that was built with cinder blocks, so that was completely wrong, and he said it needed a 3x3 platform with a handrail and railing, and everything else was satisfactory, say except for the fire alarms. They said that they are kind of old, so that they recommended adding new ones. By this time, my listing is now in pending because I have put down my earnest money and I have stated my interest, and we have signed the contract. The seller had agreed to my negotiation, so I believe the property was $75,000, but I offered $74,000, and when the inspection stuff came back, we did a little bit more negotiating in order for them to pay for some of the repairs. We did decide to pay for half of the repairs. Okay, so we're closer to closing date, and there are closing costs. Closing costs are usually 1 or 2% of the entire sale. There's also usually an administration fee that you might have to pay the realtor, or the realtor's office, to do what they do. So for all the work that she was able to do, her office got $195. Next, as a buyer, you want to set up your utilities. I was able to call a bunch of contractors to have septic put to my house, water put to my house, electric put to my house, all of the handyman stuff that needed to be fixed. I had about 5 or 6 contractors that I had set up ready to meet me there the day after closing so that I can get this stuff done. I had a foundation poured so that I could drive right up on it, had everything piped to my house that was several yards away because I wasn't parking the tiny house close to the other house. So all of this had to be done and prepped and prepared before I got. Now, along with this inspection, we had 3 options, as most people who buy property or land usually do. Depending on what's wrong with the house and the inspection, you can either A, decide to cancel the entire contract and decide not to buy. You have that option to opt out of the sale. Option 2 was to take a credit, so the seller would actually take money off the top of the price of the selling, and you wouldn't have to pay for all of that. And the third option is taking the house as is, and that you will do all of the repairs on your own with your own responsibility, leaving the seller out of it. We thought it was fair to just do a half credit, split the credit. He took half and we took half, and that all worked out. Since my property had a house on it, I needed homeowner's insurance for that house as well. So it has taken me 3.5 years to find land. The entire thing has been a grueling process. It just was. There's a lot of due diligence that you have to do in order to find your perfect land and to find legal land for your tiny house. If you have a tiny house on foundation or want one built, that might be something easier. On specific parcels of land, they might need you to build it up on a foundation. Just be aware they might need you to take your tires off. They might need you to tie it down on the grid. There are so many different loopholes that you might have to jump through, but if you're willing to do it, then you might have just found your perfect land. As you know, I highly recommend working with a realtor. This person is going to have a lot of knowledge on how to talk to these zoning offices and just give them the specifics of your dream. And, you know, they get paid to do this. It's a really great benefit for them to do it for you. And definitely take advantage of Homesteading How To. Watt Jones's website. He is Affordable Mini Splits, the sponsor in my group, Tiny House Central on Facebook. He is a wealth of information. Please do go to his website, and it's basically like he's done the work for you. So please just really go and grab that PDF, and half the work's done for you, and plug it into your sites and go look for your perfect land. If you guys like this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button below and click the notifications bell so you can receive a notification each time I post a new video, which is every Sunday. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. So this video, blah. I highly blah. Don't put that. And this means a wire fraud, email, don't put that, insurance company, you know, where I'm